and welcome to this Wrestling Time post show. It is Tuesday, March 25th, 2025, and today I should say, we'll be talking about Monday Night Raw. It's been a while since I've done a live stream, so let's get into this. Let's talk about Monday Night Raw. So it kicked off with a John Cena promo, and they've been overseas. Last week was a long-awaited interaction between Cody Rhodes and John Cena, I have to say, and I think this is the second one. So John Cena's talking about how, in April of 2005, he introduced a spinner title, and that's when the crowd started to eat him alive because, all you have to do is just Google all the negative comments on the spinner title. I actually personally like the spinner title, but that's just me. Okay. He mentions how he made a toy belt and he disrespected the tradition and legacy of the title, and he says he's going to ruin wrestling for every fan, for every wrestler, and for everyone at WrestleMania when he makes history by winning a 17th championship and finally forces people to forget Ric Flair and will forever say the name John Cena. And even worse, he will take the title and retire with it and plans to take it home, leaving them to create a new toy belt, and he will be the last real champion in WWE. I actually really like this. I think John Cena's heel turn so far is going well. I mean, literally last week he said, "Fuck them kids." He gets interrupted by Cody Rhodes, and this is your typical Cody, run-of-the-mill Cody Rhodes response. We have yet to see an actual promo exchange between them because Cody Rhodes, he said what he needed to say, and then John Cena left. John Cena didn't say anything. He didn't respond. Because they're overseas, I feel like they're trying to hold off on that interaction. They're coming face-to-face again next week. So I'm curious to see if we're just going to get more of the same stuff or we're actually going to get a promo exchange here. But Cody Rhodes basically says seeing Cena walk away empty-handed is how he will walk away from WrestleMania and the WWE. So personally, I think John Cena is going to be Cody Rhodes. I think it's going to be a screw job. And I think that John Cena is definitely beating Cody Rhodes at WrestleMania. So next we get the Usos versus A-Town Down Under. This was dubbed as Jay having a mystery partner. With being in Glasgow, one would have thought, Joe Henry. I think everybody was getting their hopes up that it was Joe Henry. Personally, I would have liked it to be Joe Henry, but I didn't want to get my hopes too high up that it was going to be Joe Henry because, knowing WWE, what were the odds? And his mystery partner ended up being Jimmy. So this is the first time in over a year and a half that the Usos had reunited. And this is the first ever match between the Usos and A-Town Down Under. So I think this was a decent match. I don't know what happened with the tease of A-Town Down Under, if they were going to split, but this was okay. The Usos won. And then afterwards, Gunter pulls Jimmy off the rope and attacks Jay. And there is this spot where I don't know if it was intentional or accidental, but it seemed like Jay was going to go for the splash and he accidentally tripped it. So I think that was a botch on his case. And then Gunter ended up attacking him. And Jimmy chased him away with a steel chair. So it was okay. We get a Judgement Day segment. And we got Dom and Carlito approaching Liv and Raquel. And they talk about Finn Balor. And Carlito says it's time for him to challenge for the IC title. And Liv wants Dom to talk about Penta joining Judgment Day, and she reminds Dom that he bought her and Carlito. It worked out. Oh, didn't those reunite last year for Wargames? They did technically, but I think because it was a 5-man tag, they're counting this as them teaming together without anybody else. That's what they said on commentary. So we get a vignette of the Grande Americano. I have to say, I thought this was the most funniest thing ever. If you show that to somebody who doesn't watch professional wrestling, they would actually think it Grande Americano is a legit luchador. But this is hilarious. But I will say though, the opening got me because they were talking about, famous luchadores and, you know, the culture of lucha libre. I thought it was like working a new luchador. I'm like, is this related to Rey Fenix? But then when they started talking about El Grande Americano, I'm like, okay, I know where this is going. And it was basically an introduction to the newest member of the Raw roster. Rey Mysterio says it's Chad Gable. Gable appears and he says it's not him. He doesn't have the energy to deal with it today. He literally shows up with a doctor's note to hand to Adam Pearce saying he cannot compete tonight. And Rey Mysterio suggests that they'll see him in the parking lot. Chad Gable suggests that Dragon Lee take on El Grande Americano. And Lee says he doesn't care if it's Gable or Americano. He will take the match, and Rey calls Chad Gable a jackass. So, I mean, it's so obvious El Grande Americano is Chad Gable. I mean, he literally goes like this, and he says gracias, which is Spanish for thank you. I think the slip was planned ever since last week when he botched the dive over the top rope. I think Jay's going to be botching moves each week to make it seem like Gunther's, and Jay said, oh, okay, that makes sense. So, I thought it was pretty hilarious. We get the women's IC title match, Lyra versus Raquel Rodriguez. This was okay. But honestly, when you compare Lyra's title reign with Chelsea Green, I feel like Chelsea Green's title reign is much more better than Lyra's. I'll get to that right now. Because even though Lyra, by the way, I like the new setup. Thank you. So even though Lyra Kira wins this, Liv and Raquel attack Lyra, and Bayley comes to Lyra's aid, and Bayley hands Lyra the IC title. Now, I don't know where they're going with Lyra. I don't know if she's going to have a match at WrestleMania, but based on the fact that we're literally like, about 3 weeks away from WrestleMania, if it's not going to be her and Becky, is it going to be her and Bayley for that IC title? I mean, is she even going to be on WrestleMania? All right. Because I would think that if Becky, with 3 weeks to go, I would think that if it would be Becky versus Lyra, Becky would have been back by now to set up the match. So next we get an Usos segment, and Jay's just sitting on some steps, and Jimmy approaches him asking him what's wrong. And if he continues this way, he won't win at WrestleMania. Basically, Jimmy says, where's the right-hand man? Where's main event? Jey Uso. Where's the Jey Uso that won the Royal Rumble? That Jey Uso can beat Gunther, but not this Jay. Which brings the point to what JJ said. The segment with Jimmy and Jay made it seem that way, that he thinks the slip was planned ever since last week when he botched the dive over the top rope. I think Jay's going to be botching moves each week to make it seem like Gunther's in his head. So, yeah, I could see that, especially based on this segment. Afterwards, Jimmy approaches Gunther, slaps him in the face and challenges him to a match. Gunther says he accepts as long as he doesn't trip and fall like Jay. So, honestly, in my opinion, Gunther should just beat the shit out of Jimmy. He really should. He should beat the shit out of Jimmy. Maybe he doesn't have to leave him a bloody mess, but he should definitely, beat the shit out of him. Okay, so next we're supposed to get a Bianca Belair and Io Sky contract signing. So contract signings and weddings and celebrations do not end well in pro wrestling. So Adam Pearce makes it very clear that despite the fact that Rhea signed a contract last week, she's not involved in this match. Her signature means nothing. So Io Sky comes out, Bianca comes out, Rhea comes out, and basically, long story short, next week, Rhea gets a rematch, and then the winner faces Bianca Belair at WrestleMania. And then a brawl breaks out between all three women. I don't know where they're going with this story. It seems like we might get a triple threat, but I have not been liking the build to this. It seems like it's kind of all over the place. Why do I? Oh, I'll mention it in a bit because it approaches with the next segment. So we get a quick Penta segment, and it's just Dom telling Penta about offering him a spot in Judgment Day, and he could be IC champion tonight if you want him to think about it. So we get an Adam Pearce segment, and basically, New Day approach him, demand a rematch, demand a match for the tag titles at WrestleMania. Bianca asks Adam Pearce who she's facing next week, and Adam Pearce says she's going to make her a special guest ref. So a special guest ref between Io Sky and Rhea Ripley, like, I feel like some shenanigans are going to go down. There's no way this is going to end good for either women, because it's either going to be Rhea's going to accuse Bianca of screwing her over, or Bianca is just going to take her own interest in mine. I mean, who would you rather face, Rhea or Io? So I am very curious to see if this becomes a triple threat. It seems like it was heading in that direction. We get El Grande Americano versus Dragon Lee. This was actually, a good match. And I'm telling you, like, it's Chad Gable. Anybody can tell you this is Chad Gable. No matter how much Chad Gable tries to deny it, it's Chad freaking Gable. I mean, that release, what does he do here? That suplex off the ring apron, the clothesline. Yeah, this is all Chad Gable. The fact that he pulled off the mask and the ankle lock, which is how he won by submission, because he pulled off the mask, and it's clearly not Chad Gable. Oh, then who is it? Hey, for all we know, maybe it is a red herring. Maybe we all think it's Chad Gable, but it could be a red herring. If it's a red herring, I've seen both men in the same place at the same time. Yeah, so did I. That in that one segment. So who, in your opinion, is El Grande Americano? But so if it's not Chad Gable, who else can? Is Rey Fenix? I think it seems like Rey Fenix is going to SmackDown. Charlie Haas? I remember Charlie Haas's gimmick of him impersonating wrestlers, so I can see why you would think that. Who will be Cena's first opponent after he beats Cody at Mania? That's a good question. But oh God, I think it's Chad Gable. What this is gonna lead to, I'm not entirely sure. I know he's like obsessed with, because he's got a luchador problem. But literally, all the signs are there. Like I said earlier, he says gracias, Spanish for thank you. Chad Gable says thank you. So we'll see. But let me know in the live chat or in the comment section down below, who do you think El Grande Americano is if it's not Chad Gable? All right, we get a CM Punk promo, and he's talking about how he's not in a good mood and he's a little pissed off. That he talks about how he didn't win the Rumble, how he wanted to win the Chamber, and he makes a reference to working with children. He says that while it's personal for Reigns and for Rollins, it's business for him. They're going to have a contract signing on SmackDown. And like I mentioned earlier, yes, we all know contract signings in wrestling, weddings, and celebrations never end well. Cena's first opponent, if he wins the title, will probably be Orton. Backlash. Oh, I think that makes the most sense. He acknowledges the fact that Roman Reigns is taking this personal because he knows that the wise man isn't just this wise man. I think that contract signing is definitely going to end in a brawl. I don't think that any of these three men are going to be able to. I don't think it's going to end well. He says that neither Rollins nor Reigns have been able to defeat him without the other's help. He brought them into this business, and he cannot wait until he takes them out. That is true, as they say on commentary. Contract signing is just laziness. Why do you say that? It was CM Punk that, it was his whole idea with the Shield, but I don't think, if I remember correctly, I don't think it was supposed to be Roman. I think he wanted Canassus Ono in the Shield with Dean Ambrose and Seth Rollins instead of Roman. I'm not entirely, if I remember correctly. So you get a Braun Breaker interview, and he says that they should just do a Brawl than a contract sign. I agree. I would definitely see a Brawl. Braun Breaker says it's Penta's business, and it doesn't concern him if he joins Judgment Day or not. And that he's going to retain the title because dogs are barking in Glasgow. So the main event ends up being an IC title match. Braun Breaker versus Penta. Now, I was actually enjoying this match. And then I like the new setting in the room. Oh, thank you. I need a ring light because the one that I had broke, so I need to get a new ring light because it's pretty dark in here. Yes, Canassus Ono, better known as Chris Hero, was supposed to be the third man, right? Okay, so I did remember correctly. So, Spider-Man all the way. Yeah, my Spider-Man curtains. So this match just does not have a clean finish. This match doesn't even end. It ends in a DQ because Dom gets involved in this, and so does Calito. And then Finn Balor attacks Braun Breaker with the steel chair, and he teases hitting Dom with the chair, and he hands Dom the chair. So Punk can say that Roman was forced in his vision, just like he was forced on the fans' throats for 10 years. Oh yeah, that's a good analogy. Dom encourages Penta to hit Breaker, but Penta attacks Dom instead. And Balor attacks Penta, and he hits Breaker with a chair to the back, and then a quick cross to Penta. So, I think it's pretty obvious that Finn Balor is still going to split from this version of Judgment Day. It's only a matter of time. But now I'm curious to see what the direction of the IC title is. You got Finn Balor going after the IC title, and you got Penta Cero Miedo. So are we getting multi-man matches at WrestleMania here? Because the way things are going, seems like for SmackDown we're getting a multi-man match for the tag titles. Now it might seem like we're getting a multi-man match or maybe a triple threat for the IC title with Braun Breaker, Finn Balor, Penta, and Penta. So we'll see. But on a scale from a 1 to Shawn Spears' perfect 10, I actually did not really enjoy this Monday Night Raw. The opening stuff with John Cena and Cody Rhodes was good. But aside from that, this was pretty much just your run of the Penta teaching kids how to throw. That's funny. So, and this main event didn't have a clear finish. So this is like a 5 out of 10 for me, honestly. This was I feel like they're not even trying, pretty much. Here, this is how I feel. This was not a good Raw. It started off strong, and then it kind of just dipped. All right. So, with that being said, you guys, let me see. 8 out of 10, really? Okay, agree to disagree. All right, well, with that being said, thank you guys all so much for watching. And for the continued support, please don't forget to like and subscribe. Make sure you hit that bell so you get notified whenever I go live or release a new video. And maybe I'll see you guys Wednesday. If not, I'll see you guys Friday. And until next time, you guys. Bye.